Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Tyvis Powell, Jason Lloyd. Plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
50 hours and counting to kick off.
Let's go.
It is a 1 o'clock start, right?
It is.
I wanted to make sure. So the Central Time Zone always got to, hey, it could be a 4 o'clock. I hate 4
And it's
o'clock.
a weird weekend because of Christmas on a Monday.
We have football all weekend.
There's 2 games Saturday, a bunch on Sunday, a triple header on Christmas Day.
And I'm sure there's a divorcelawyer.com bowl game somewhere.
If there isn't, there should be.
There should be.
You know, it's long been said that the NFL owns a day of the week.
Right.
But if you think about it, they've hijacked really 3 full days. Because Thursday night, Sunday, all day and when they play in Europe, you have football, NFL football, from 10 in the morning until midnight. Yeah. So you have 14 hours. Your Sundays are shot.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then Monday, they have Monday Night Football. And during the holidays, it's, like you said,
a
couple on Saturday. You got Thursday. You got a full slate Sunday, a game Monday.
3 games Monday. It's
3
weird
games Monday?
when I saw a 1 o'clock game on Monday that looks so strange, but that's it.
Because they're looking at Monday as like an off day because a lot of people will be off for Christmas, right?
Right. They're going to wipe the floor with the NBA.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, there used to be like this gentleman's agreement, right?
Yes,
like,
there was.
They gave the NBA Christmas, and now they're like, no, you know what? We're going to take that too.
And
so how
years.
long until they start making Saturday games a regular thing? Because they've always left Saturday for college football.
That's exactly right.
And then right after Army, Navy, they start putting NFL games on. If they don't respect the NBA, they certainly don't respect college. They're just going to start putting NFL games on every Saturday.
It'll be interesting if that happens to see because people are going to have to choose.
Saturday
If you're a
night
Buckeye
game.
fan and a Browns fan, and they schedule the Browns on in November and Saturday,
that's easy.
Flip the
It's gonna be
coin. I'm watching the Browns.
Yeah.
I will every time.
And if it's an 8 o'clock game and it's TCU versus Oklahoma State in prime time, oh no, I'm watching that NFL game.
Now,
Saturday
the
night.
reason I don't think that'll happen in the immediate near future is because they're in, like NBC, for instance, they're in the college football business. They're in the NFL business. ESPN. College football, NFL.
They're all in
so they
both.
won't want to cannibalize themselves.
That's a really
but
good point.
When Amazon becomes a bigger player and Apple becomes a bigger player and they're streaming their games, that might be a way for them to say, let's go. Let's go on full boat Saturday and see what we have.
Dang, ABC, y'all ain't even in the mix.
Well,
no more.
ESPN, they're owned by Disney. It's all the same money, really. Busy show, really busy show. 90 minutes here, and then it's the coveted 30 minutes of never-before-seen Browns coverage coming up at WKYC Channel 3 at 12:30. I like the look. Is that the Christmas theme?
It's the most festive button down I have.
I like it.
I like it.
I like 2 thumbs up.
I like
a little
that.
bit lumberjack,
That's
a little bit
exactly
busy.
what Mike said.
Mike said, all right, the Lumberjacks here.
Well, with the beard, too. I mean, it really does. Jason the Lumberjack.
Yeah.
Busy show. We have Tim Couch on our 90-minute show. A lot of talk about the Texans and the Browns, how they match up. It's going to be a lot of fun today because I've got a stat that I'm going to give after Mikey says his first hello of the day that blew my mind. And I'm not sure if you guys have seen this yet, but it really it's one of the most incredible stats I've seen maybe all year. And it's about the Browns and another NFL team. But first, good morning, hello, and welcome back to Mikey McNuggets. You've been gone, 3 weeks?
5 days. It was 4 days of work. I worked on Sunday when I was home, so it was like 3 days officially off. Earl and Ant did a phenomenal job holding down the fort. They crushed it. You guys continue to put out good content when I'm not here, so I'm just part of the cog that keeps this thing moving. But you guys are the stars of the show, and we got a big show, as Jay mentioned. We're going up to WKYC in 90 minutes, give or take. But first, G, you sent me something that we have to show.
Yes.
And I know you're giving away and you're selling some of these Grinch hoodies, and you said you found the actual Grinch.
I did.
And somehow he found bushlinebeauty.com because we have visual proof of the Grinch.
He just
wearing
showed
the Grinch.
up
Steve, take it full.
look, with the mascot, man. Shout out to my man. Look at this right here.
Whoa.
The actual G Money showed up and was like, hey, let me put the hoodie on, dog. Let me put the shirt on. And he just sent it to me. Shout out to him, man. Like, that's crazy. Really, I just popped up in my email.
Repping your gear.
Repping the gear with the I've been wanting a mascot for years. This dude already got the whole damn suit. It's crazy.
Grinch, starts with G.
Yeah.
There's some synergy there.
There is. Shout out to him. He traveled all the way from the North Pole, and he put the shirt on, and I owe him a little bit of money, but we'll get it. We'll get
it's an endorsement deal. It's an NIL deal. We're going to dive right in, but before we do, I have to give this stat. A viewer sent this to me yesterday in my email, and I said, that is patently false. There is no way that's a fact. I have to look this up. Because if it's true, it's going to stun everybody. But it's true. I looked it up. Going back to when Drew Brees left the Chargers. Drew Brees. Now remember, he went on to have a Hall of Fame career with New Orleans, won a Super Bowl.
What was that, like 2002?
2005.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Since the day Drew Brees left, the Chargers have moved. San Diego and Los Angeles have started a grand total of 4 quarterbacks.
Wow.
Going back to 2005. The Browns have started 4 quarterbacks
this year.
And I said, that can't be right. There's got to be holes in that.
Wait, can we guess them?
You don't even have to guess them. They're on the tips of every fan's tongue. You know who they are.
Phillip
Rivers. 06
Herbert.
to 19.
Charlie Whitehurst.
No.
Tyrod Taylor played a game.
Tyrod Taylor. Justin Herbert. Phillip Rivers, Easton Stick.
Oh, yeah, now
Easton Stick.
Well, how many of the Packers started since then?
Well, even though they had long stretches with Favre and then Rodgers, Favre didn't get hurt, but I think Rodgers may have in there. But look it up. All-time Green Bay Packers quarterbacks.
Probably
since 2006. Was that the date? 2006?
2005 was when Drew Brees left the Saints. So you're literally talking about 18 years. What really struck me, I think, was the fact that Phillip Rivers, from 06 to 19, took every snap in San Diego.
That's remarkable.
Yeah, that is crazy to stay.
That's stunning.
Meanwhile, when Mason Rudolph starts against the Bengals tomorrow, he'll be the 58th quarterback to start a game this year.
We could get to 60.
And the Chargers didn't have a second one in all those years with Phillip Rivers.
We'll get to 60. We'll get to 60.
I mean, you got 3 weeks to get 2 more in there.
Week 18, everyone throws their schlubs in there.
Yep.
Yeah, true. Whether you've clinched a spot or your season's done, you want to look at somebody.
And Jacoby Brissett hasn't started a game. Who would have guessed that? 58 quarterbacks have started.
Yeah.
Jacoby Brissett has
You
not
would have told me
started
that he wouldn't have been one of them. I would have said that's wrong.
Right.
That's false. Anyhow, that stat just tore my mind up. And what I did was I went back even a little bit longer. The Browns have had 10 quarterbacks in the last 4 or 5 years because they had a bunch last year, the year before. You can go back 10 quarterbacks and listen to some names that you get thrown in there. Let's go from the bottom. Easton Stick, Justin Herbert, Tyrod Taylor, Phillip Rivers, Drew Brees. Go 6 back, you're at Doug Flutie.
Jeez.
Then you've got at 9 back Jim Harbaugh.
Right.
At 10 back, you're at Ryan Leaf. And that's just 10 quarterbacks removed from where they are now.
I can't believe Flutie is after Ryan Leaf. That's
I
crazy.
know. Yeah, that tells you about the longevity of his career because he went to Canada.
How many do you go back for Fouts?
So
he quarterbacked
11,
a while.
12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17,
Oh, it's
18,
that far. Yeah,
19,
okay.
20. Yeah.
They must have had
look, they had a stretch of years that were very Browns-like.
Right.
Some Billy Joe Tolliver years in there.
The Packers have
Sean
started 7, by
Salisbury,
the way.
Gail Gilbert. What
was the Packers?
Packers have started 7. Favre, Rodgers, Matt Flynn, Seneca Wallace, Scott Tolzien, Brett Hundley, and Jordan Love.
Okay.
It's still stunning that you could go 18 years and start 4 quarterbacks. And the Browns have started 4 quarterbacks. The emailer said in October. But I don't think Flacco started a game in October, so that can't be right.
No.
But still, I mean, for dramatic purposes, just, this season they've started as many as the Chargers have started in the last 18 years.
And it's not like the Chargers have been the model franchise. I mean, they've been a decent franchise, but
they had some good years with Phillip Rivers.
Right. But they're not like, it's not like it's the Patriots.
No, exactly. Right. Okay, first up, we're going to talk about – you want to do a read first?
Yeah, I got to do a FanDuel read as we get in here. And as the weather gets colder, the NFL offers stay red hot on FanDuel. And right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. So if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time than right now to get in on the action. The app is easy to use, and there's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and much, much more. So visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL, an official partner of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show.
Do we have a ticket?
No tickets today. We're going to get right into it because we are so jam-packed busy. But if you have a winning ticket, make sure you tweet it at us. We'll get back to featuring those next week on the show. We mentioned Joe Flacco, and Jay, he has put up some astronomical numbers, good and bad, in his first 3 starts.
Yeah.
A lot of turnovers, a lot of touchdowns. So I want to start with this question. At this stage of his career, is it possible for Joe Flacco to play 4 quarters of turnover-free football, or are the turnovers just part of the experiment and the experience of 38-year-old Joe Flacco?
You guys?
I think it's the way the Browns are playing right now with an inability to run, and maybe that's going to be helped because Posick did practice yesterday, and I read something this morning that Bitonio's going to try to go even though he hasn't practiced this week. And if they have both of those guys, I would think they'll have a better chance of being able to run at least a little more. But I think, hopefully not 3 interceptions, but I think Joe Flacco, he's in his career, especially in his recent career, he's turned the ball over a lot. That's part of what you're going to get when you have an older quarterback who's still got a good arm and he's a gunslinger. He's not afraid to take a chance. Bernie talked about this eloquently yesterday. He said, listen, the guy's not scared to throw that 3rd pick, the 4th pick. He's going to keep making those throws. Well, he's going to keep making those throws. Occasionally they're going to go to the other team. So I think that's part of the mix that they have to deal with him as quarterback right now.
Did you guys see the clip this week of Kevin on the sideline on one of the interceptions? It was Sid Tillman's fault. Basically.
It was the first interception.
Yep.
And I think that with young receivers, obviously not Amari, but with some of these young receivers, this is going to happen too, where it's not. It looks like it's Joe's fault. It's not on Joe.
Yeah.
If guys running the wrong route or a guy gets picked or whatever, we've seen that a couple times where he's thrown interceptions on plays that weren't his fault. So when you combine that with what Bull just said, because I agree 100% with everything Bull just said, yeah, he's going to turn the ball over. You're still going to have turnovers.
Yep.
The Browns have survived all year playing football that we've said for decades you can't win this way.
Right. It's a dangerous game they play.
Oh, it is. Yeah. For sure. And at some point, it's probably we're going to go, well, it finally caught up with them.
Yeah, you're right.
But I just think that this is, they're pot committed now. This is how they're going to play. Yep. And the throw that he made to Amari on that incredible touchdown throw that when it left his hands, I thought was going to get picked. You don't get that throw without some of the other throws.
Bernie used that example.
Exactly.
Did he really? He said the exact same thing. He said Gary Danielson told him early in his career, you better stop being pick immune. You're going to throw picks. You've got an arm to make a lot of throws. If you start making picks and you lose your courage, was the word Bernie used, then you become check down Charlie.
Right.
You're going nowhere that way.
He said the great quarterbacks are not afraid to throw 4 picks.
That's what he said. And then he went on to say what you just said, that throw to Amari never happens if he doesn't have the courage to come back from those picks.
Absolutely.
So kind of like Josh Allen, you take the good and you hope that the good far outweighs the bad. Brett Favre was like that.
Yep.
Peyton Manning early in his career was an interception machine.
Yeah.
And he had somebody very important in his ear, his dad, who played with a very, very bad franchise in the NFL that told him, you're going to throw picks. Just get used to it. It's part of the NFL.
Yep.
Do you think he can do it? 4 quarters without turning it over?
Yeah, but, that's something we all shoot for. We shoot for no turnovers, but when you're playing a game like this and you're throwing the football a lot, which we are throwing the ball more now because that's the best chance to give us the best chance to win, that's going to happen. Tim DeRuyter, who used to be my defensive coordinator at OU, he was at Texas A&M with Von Miller, Arizona, a couple other teams. We were really good at stopping the run, and we stopped the run all year. And then we came in one day, and the team threw up 400 or 500 yards on us in the air. And he came in and he said, the objective has changed. It's no longer stop the run. That's not our moniker. Stop what the hell they doing. That's our moniker right now. And so that just shows you that you have to pivot to what gives you the best chance to win. And right now, I've been a run-first guy. I've been a run-first guy when it was, Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. I was a run-first guy when the offensive line was healthy. But at this point, you ain't got none of the above. Letter D. You don't have Chubb, you don't have the offensive line, and you don't have the vision in the backs that you got right now that's starting. So my thing is, hey, you give yourself the best chance to win, and that is Joe Flacco throwing the football downfield. And there's some collateral damage with that, but you just live with it.
And real quick, every single week, I think I said when it was P.J. Walker, when it's DTR. Don't turn the ball over, don't turn the ball over, don't turn the ball over. Because you didn't have the big playability.
Sure.
Flip side of that. Now you do to sort of offset exactly what you were saying. If he throws a pick, well, he's going to come back with something a little bit better. So it's not as damaging. Nobody wants to turn the ball over, but it's not as damaging now as it felt like it was when it was DTR and P.J. Walker.
Yeah, I'm glad you went that way, because the way I was going to come at this, he's definitely going to throw turnovers. Just get used to it. It's part of Joe Flacco. It's part of why we love him. He's got the big arm. He's got courage and onions that we haven't seen in Cleveland in a very, very, very long time. The analogy I was going to use was all the other guys, DTR, not so much Deshaun Watson, but DTR and Phillip Rivers were using a shovel to dig out of their messes.
P.J. Walker.
Who'd I say?
Phillip Rivers.
We're still in
Phillip Rivers.
We're still confused for a second.
Because Tyvus calls him Phillip.
That's
so now he's become Phillip to me. P.J. Walker was using a shovel to dig out of his mess.
Yeah.
Joe Flacco has a backhoe. Mm-hmm. He just waltzes in there with his backhoe, sticks that thing in the ground, and it's the pass to Amari Cooper. That can get you out of a previous interception. Also, he knows what he has on the sidelines when he's on the field. And that's a pretty damn good defense. That's a safety net for his interceptions. I don't want to put them in jeopardy. Now, last week he threw a pick six and another one that led to the 6-yard line or whatever it was, that led to another touchdown. You can't make a habit of doing that.
Right.
But he knows I've got a defense that I trust. And because of that, I'm going to try to make throws that I wouldn't make if I had the 27th ranked defense.
Right.
So it's complementary football. It's having the backhoe arm to dig you out of whatever holes you might create. And I'm okay with those turnovers as long as the TD number has to be bigger than the INT number. We can't have 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. It's got to be 3 touchdowns, 1 or 2 interceptions.
Do you agree that the ceiling, though, if the Browns want to get to the Super Bowl, because we've been talking about this a while, the ceiling is the no turnovers in the playoffs? Because I think to beat one of these really good teams, you're going to have a game where he plays really good.
But don't you change?
I would say limit the turnovers.
Yeah, because
he can't. What Jay's talking about, they can still win games in the regular season when he has 2-3 turnovers. I think. But when you're playing the better teams, no. Like he can still have 1 pick in a playoff game.
If you're on the road in Kansas City.
Woo!
Yeah, you can't. You give Kansas City 2 short fields.
Yeah,
and again, as you said, Jay, not all picks are equal. If I throw a pick at the 30-yard at the Chiefs' 30-yard line and they start a drive at the 30, okay, that's not the end of the world. Right. But if I'm throwing a pick 6, I mean that's a disaster.
Yeah,
in a big game.
bad. Can't happen.
By the way, speaking of what you're saying about him knowing he has the defense, Mike, can you put up that stat I texted you right before the show?
Yeah, 1 sec.
Because this stat is not a surprise stat, but it was kind of it was a good one here. According to PFF Browns, the Cleveland Browns defense has allowed points on just 45 of 186 drives. That's 24%. So they're giving up points 1 out of 4 drives essentially. The average in the league is 35.
That's better than 1 out of 3 is the league average.
Right.
Yeah. And you know what's crazy about that? You guys know how these stats work. With 32 teams, typically the separation between 1, 2, and 3 is 1/10 of a percentage point, maybe a percentage point. They're 11 percentage points better than the league average.
Yeah.
That is a rare defense, guys.
And how many short fields has the offense put them in position?
Well, they're
still getting dinged for that stat.
Yes, they are. When they start a drive on the 11 or whatever,
it was the goal line.
It was. Yeah, I mean, okay, that counts against them.
Yeah,
that counts against them.
Right.
Yeah, and there've been a few of those short field.
I can think of a bunch of short fields that the offense has given the defense to work with this year.
That number could be even better.
Mike, I would love to know a stat of how many touchdowns the Browns' defense has given up where the other team had to go more than 65 yards compared to other teams. That's something we should try to find.
I will try to look that up.
That would be really hard to find. I'd be stunned if the Browns weren't number 1 by a lot.
Even 50.
So I'll tell you,
true.
I did just find this, though, Bull. So I found where they got that stat. The Browns have only allowed scoring drives on 24.2%. The Chiefs are second at 28.4.
Okay, 4%.
You said the league average was 35%. They're 11 points better.
So in baseball terms, that would be if you had a 280 batting average as a team.
Yeah.
And the number 2 team batting average was 240.
Yeah, it's a pretty big difference.
I mean, when you put it into those terms, that's a huge gap.
But, Jay, here's what I want to point out. So they were 11 points better than league average, right?
Okay.
11 points worse than league average is dead last in the NFL, 46%. So they are double.
Wow.
It's the Commanders at 46.5%. Washington.
I think the only teams that can compete with the Browns defensively are Baltimore and San Francisco. I think the Browns are the best. I think those teams are close. I don't think anybody else is close.
Baltimore's third in that percentage, by the way.
Where's San Fran?
28%. San Francisco's ninth at 31%.
Where's Philly?
Surprised by that.
Philly would be Philly.
Philly struggle a little bit.
That far down. I didn't think they'd be
They
that far
struggle.
down.
28th.
Wow.
40%.
They struggle.
Holy cow.
Wow. They're playing terrible football right now.
McNuggets, I'm gonna tell you this. You might enjoy this analogy. Like, I think the reason the Browns are head and shoulders above the rest of those teams in those particular categories is, remember Nolan Richardson and 40 Minutes of Hell?
Oh, yeah.
Remember how he used to just press you and press you and press you, and eventually you just broke. When you look at the Cleveland Browns, they offer a version of that. They press cover you with 3 great corners. Their win percentage is in the 60s. And they order
3 of the top 4 win percentages in the league.
In the league. You have the best pass rusher, and on top of that, you have the ability with some of the creative stuff that you do to get home, and you got linebackers like JOK who are faster than anybody the lineman can block. When you pressure somebody and you don't give up anything, on first down, they're looking to come get you. It isn't like, hey, just let's play some base defense and give them 3. No, they're trying to hit you for losses. And when you get to second, 13, second and 14, third and 10, it's a wrap. It's done now, because now we're going to press you and we're going to get home with Myles Garrett, who's getting there faster than anybody. So it's almost like a constant pressure that you always deal with.
I like that analogy.
By the time you get to the fourth quarter, they're going to give you something.
I like that. 40 Minutes of Hell.
Remember the movie Remember the Titans? I'm sure everybody's seen that movie. Remember they were playing that coach who's a racist, and the referees were kind of cheating against him.
Yeah.
And then the white assistant coach, Coach Yost, he brings the defense together. He's like, I don't want to see them get another yard in this game.
Yeah.
That's Jim Schwartz on the sideline.
Right.
It is.
From
It
the
really
get-go,
is.
too.
Yeah.
You're like, dang, Coach Schwartz, give him something. No.
I want them to remember the night they played the Browns. Yeah.
We love it. Yeah, so, turnovers at a minimum. Try to keep them down. But I was upset last week with the second one and then the third one, and I'm like, you can't win that way.
Right.
Now, you can't make a habit of winning that way.
Yeah.
No.
You're not going to score
They have.
3 times in the fourth quarter
I know.
and hold the opposing defense to a bunch of 3 and outs as a rule. You can do that against some of the, like Bull said, some of the bottom rung teams, like the Bears and maybe the Texans even, without their starting quarterback. But when you get into the playoffs, those teams, when you make a mistake against those teams, they put their foot on your throat and they choke you out. They make you pay for those mistakes.
Yeah.
So I'm with Bull. You can't eliminate the turnovers. Nobody's going into a game saying, it's okay, Joe. If you throw 3, that's okay. No one's saying that. But right now, no one's whispering in his ear, Joe, what are you trying to do?
Right.
You can't make that throw. No one's saying that now because they have seen him make that throw. Mm-hmm. And so you live with the good and you hope that it's better than the bad. And it's a little like Josh Allen. Josh Allen has been pick prone the last 2 years, but when you're throwing for 5,000 yards and 40 touchdowns, you'll take some of that bad stuff.
Yep.
All right.
We're going to move on, talk a little Amari Cooper, but before we do that, another reminder that FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook, and even as the weather gets colder, the NFL offers stay red hot on FanDuel. And right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. So if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time than right now to get in on the action. The app is easy to use, and there's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and much, much more. So visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL. Amari Cooper's 15 yards away from becoming the first Browns wide receiver ever with back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. And it's going to be celebrated. It deserves to be celebrated. But as a Browns fan, how will you guys feel about this accomplishment, considering they're the only team in football that hasn't had it yet, and it's something that you would expect a modern-day franchise to have already accomplished in their history? G, you want to start?
Man, listen, I'm going to look at Amari Cooper, and I think when people look at him, I always be like, he's undervalued. And when I say undervalued, it's not like people don't know who he is. It's just a simple fact that he really doesn't do anything like DK Metcalf's huge, big, strong, fast. You look at guys like Amari St. Brown. Like he's the guy that's jitterbugs, get through holes, do his thing. He doesn't have the straight line speed like a CeeDee Lamb or any of those guys. But what he does have is he has this uncanny ability to just get open. Like we talk about that route. We talk about that pass, but the route itself was money bags too. Think about how he ran right between three people. Like he could have bended that route a little bit differently and he would have got picked off. He could have moved to the left or right 6 inches or so and that ball would have got knocked down. He runs these routes. He does what he needs to do to get the ball, and he's just studied. And the thing I like what he said too was when he said it felt like a weight off my shoulders when Joe Flacco was here. When he said Joe Flacco, he said, hey, when we found out he was coming here, it was a weight off my shoulders. And if you look at the way he was playing, when he was playing with P.J. Walker and DTR, it looked a little different. Now, granted, he was hurt a little bit, but, this is a guy who at one point in the beginning of the season, they said, look, we might not be able to pay him. We might have to move on from him. No, that's not. He needs to be back here next year. It just goes to show you how starved the Browns have been for receivers. We have never had receivers, bro. Well, and this guy's had 985 or 2 back-to-back. It's crazy.
Well, think about this. In the Super Bowl era, so since 1969, you're talking, what are we at, 54 years?
This is Super Bowl 58.
58. Okay, so 50, yeah. Geez, 54.
It's easy for me to remember. It's always the same age as me.
So in the first 57 years since the Super Bowl, the Browns have had not just receivers, they've had 13 players have a 1,000-yard season. I'm sorry, 12 players, and Ozzie Newsome did it twice. So 13 total times. That's it. In 57 years, Amari Cooper's going to remain the 12th player, but become just the second Browns player. Forget back-to-back. Ozzie Newsome, who had 1,001 yards one year and 1,002 yards another year, not back-to-back, is the only Browns pass catcher in the Super Bowl era that's had more than 1,000-yard season. They've never had a receiver, and Amari Cooper's about to be it. It is beyond stunning how bad they've been at getting wide receivers.
And Gary Barnidge.
Gary Barnidge is one of the 12. Terrell Pryor is one of the 12.
I think Webster Slaughter,
Kevin Johnson.
Leroy Kelly.
Josh Gordon?
No.
Not Leroy Kelly.
I'll give you the rest. Here it goes. Josh Gordon, Braylon Edwards, Webster Slaughter, Jarvis Landry, Amari Cooper, Kellen Winslow, Kevin Johnson, Gary Barnidge, Odell Beckham, Antonio Bryant, Terrell Pryor, and then 2 years of Ozzie Newsome.
I was high on Antonio Bryant. I remember
Antonio
him.
Bryant. There you go.
So
a lot of people were for a minute.
Yeah.
So does that mean Freddie Kitchens was dope?
Apparently.
No.
Like Jarvis Landry and Odell had 1,000. Does that mean he was a good coordinator?
No.
Okay.
Not at all.
Stats don't matter, right?
Jerry Rice did it
Only
14 times.
Only when you want to, right?
Oh, my God.
Jerry Rice alone had 14,000
Jerry Rice
yard
had more
seasons
1,000-yard seasons than the Browns have had in 57 years.
in history.
Those Browns will tie them this
So
year.
how will you feel about that stat?
I kind of look at it like the passing game didn't really evolve and explode until the last 15 or 20 years or so, really. And the Browns have just been absolute horse crap for that entire time. So I'm not terribly surprised. But when you go back, the Browns had some really good teams in the 80s. It's just hard to believe. Webster Slaughter's not a Hall of Famer, but he was a really good receiver. I'm shocked that he didn't do it.
He did it once.
He did it once.
No, I'm saying to do it in consecutive years.
Oh, yeah.
Braylon Edwards was an incredible talent, but you only did it once.
Right.
It's one of those, it kind of is like that Charger stat you threw out. It kind of blows your mind a little bit of, how's that possible? And again, for so long, the passing game wasn't really part of the NFL offense, or it wasn't really a featured component of it. It was the whole, when you throw the ball, 3 things can happen, and 2 of them are bad type mentality, really up until about 20, 25 years ago. But I go back and look at those 80s teams, and I just can't believe that it never happened twice.
You know what? I think what kept it from happening was the fact that they had 2,000-yard backs in the same season.
Well, that's true.
In Mack and Biner.
Mack and Biner.
And it was a real push-pull, and I've talked to Bernie about this a number of times. Bernie and fans wanted to throw the football. because it was sexy and it looked good, and you could get 50 yards in one play as opposed to 50 yards in 8 plays.
Yeah.
Marty Schottenheimer said, we're not built for that. We're in Cleveland. It's muddy. It's cold. This travels. Let's go heavy with the running backs. So they went with Mack and Biner, and they were successful. They didn't ultimately win a Super Bowl, but I think that probably explains away why it didn't happen with Bernie. Mm-hmm. And Ozzie was their primary pass catcher. And again, 1,001 and 1,002, you know what that tells me? That tells me that late in the season he was sitting at 935, and somebody said, Coach, we got to get him to 1,000. Let's game plan for Ozzie.
Yeah.
And so they pushed him, and they barely got him over the edge. Yeah. 1,001, 1,002. I'm glad that you asked the question this way, Mikey, because there was a news item that happened in the sports world overnight that we just didn't have time to fit in. But I'm going to work it in right here as part of my answer because it's an analogy. Your question was, will you feel happy or embarrassed? And my answer is the way I feel right now about the Cleveland Guardians this offseason. On one hand, you have the Los Angeles Dodgers, who last night signed a $325 million deal for the best pitcher that some say the Japanese leagues have ever seen. Better than Ohtani, but the best one that's ever come out. He's 25 years old. He got $325 million. Yamamoto, you're going to hear a lot about him next year. Prior to that, they had spent $700 million to get Shohei Ohtani. So when you juxtapose what the Dodgers have done to what the Guardians done, here's what you have it. The Dodgers have spent over $1 billion because they also signed another pitcher and gave him $100 million, I believe. Mm-hmm. So it's $1.1 billion that they've spent on three players. So there's that. And then you look at the Guardians, and they spent, and I got to credit my friend Reflog for this because he tweeted this out this morning. It made me laugh. The Guardians have spent $6 million total compared to $1.1 billion, and we get Austin Hedges and blue seats.
That's crazy.
And so I'm happy that we're getting blue seats. They're beautiful. Have you seen them?
Yeah.
The drone that flew over the stadium and got the sneak peek. These are nice.
Cushions. They're cushioned.
You're gonna love these blue seats. They're pretty. They're nice.
I really like the green.
I hated the green. Why are our seats green? Nothing in our color scheme is green. Get rid of them.
The stadium was beautiful.
It was fine. But the blue, I love the blue. So I'm happy. Austin Hedges, good dude. Brings a World Series ring with him.
Bro,
not much of a bat, but he brings a World Series ring with him.
That press release was the funniest thing. This was the first move we were making today.
Yeah, right. We had to bring Austin Hedges back.
I say these guys.
They lost it.
It's too good to beat these guys.
So the Guardians have spent $6 million for blue seats and Hedges, and for that I'm happy. But when I look at what the Dodgers have done, and they've spent $1.1 billion on three players, I'm embarrassed. So when he goes over 1,000 yards, I will be happy. Amari Cooper, that is a great accomplishment. Yeah. But at the same time, I will be patently embarrassed that it happens so infrequently. And he will be the first receiver in team history to have 2 back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. Stunning.
We're going to bring in Tim Couch, and it's a special Tim Couch appearance. I'll tell you guys why in one sec. But first, FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook, and even as the weather gets colder, the NFL offers stay red hot. And right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. So if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time than right now to get in on the action. The app is simple to use, and you can bet on anything on FanDuel, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and much, much more. So visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL. Let's welcome in Tim Couch. And Tim, 21 years ago to the day, you led a 92-yard, 2-minute drive touchdown drive with no timeouts against the Ravens to keep the playoff hopes alive. You tossed a game-winning score with 29 seconds to play to lead the Browns to a 14-13 win over the Ratbirds, and the Browns ended up making the playoffs this season. So 21 years, this memory is now legally able to drink, and congratulations, and thank you again for the happy memories.
It's been drinking for years. It's just been doing it illegally.
Well, now it's legal.
That's exactly right.
Tim did that, and Tim, thanks for joining us as always today.
Hey, good to be with you guys. I appreciate it. That was a good memory. The thing I remember most about that game is I hadn't done anything the whole game until that last drive. So fortunately, we were able to finish off with a good drive to win the game. So always tough on the road against Baltimore. But
hey Tim, is Flacco's great play and his comebacks making you think about a comeback now, or what?
Well, after 2 back surgeries, I think I'm done. But it's fun to watch him play, man. It really is. I think I didn't expect this much out of Joe. I thought when they brought Joe in, it was going to be more of a game manager type. Just don't make mistakes. Go to the right place with the football. Don't turn it over. They've cut him loose. Joe Flacco has thrown for over 300 yards 2 weeks in a row, and it's his offense. We've had a lot of injuries on the offensive line. We're not running the football particularly well right now. But Joe is out there making plays. Obviously he's turned the ball over a few times. A lot of that, a few of those turnovers weren't his fault, either a wrong route or a tip pass or something like that. But Joe's making plays. He's making some unbelievable throws, and they're winning games with him, and it's super exciting to watch.
Tim, when you're in the meeting rooms, right? Because you've been in there with a lot of guys and a lot of different skill sets. What's the difference between the way the offensive coordinator and the quarterback talk to about game managers and guys they cut loose? Like, is the rhetoric different? Is there a certain package of plays that you see on film? Like, no, you should have checked that down, or do they let you throw? How does that work?
Yeah, it more depends on the player. I think you kind of coach all the guys the same way. You want everybody to be that game manager and take care of the football, priority number one for every quarterback. But then, personalities take over. I think once you get out on the field, you can coach me, or you can coach Ben Roethlisberger or Peyton Manning or Brett Favre, and you can coach us exactly the same way. When it gets out on the field, we're all going to make our own decisions and play the game the way that we play it in our style. And guys are going to, not be so aggressive and force the football down the field, and you're going to get a guy like Brett Favre who's going to say, I'll take a few interceptions because I know I'm going to come back and throw 3 or 4 touchdowns. And then there's other guys that are saying, I'm going to manage the game a little more. I'm not going to try to turn the ball over. I'm going to be conservative. If it's not there, I'll check it down or tuck it and run and do those kind of things. So you coach everyone the same, but like I said, everyone's personality comes out once they have the ball in their hand.
Tim, he's made some great throws. You talked about the picks, and some of them were definitely not on him. Those are balls that are going to be picked off. You throw it 40 times a game, you're going to have interceptions in there. The one throw that really stood out to us last week was the route to Amari Cooper that he took for a touchdown. I don't know if you remember the play. I think we have it on tag board. We don't. You may remember the play. There were defenders converging. The lane, which maybe started this big, was about the width of the football by the time the football got to him. Cooper made the catch and took it for a touchdown. Talk about what's going on in his head as he sees that play developing. He knows that you're trying to throw a football between 2 moving walls that are closing in on each other. What's the thought process of that? And what in your mind is the completion probability of that throw before he makes it?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with that throw, which was unbelievably impressive, I think was the anticipation that he threw the football with. When he let it go, my first reaction was, oh, no, this is a pick, because I knew it was cover 2, and that corner was just going to sit right there and fall back into that crossing route, and then you got the safety driving on it as well. And when he let it go, I mean, the window was like it was not there, but he anticipated that throw and put it in the only spot possible that he could put it in. And I think for a guy like Joe, that's he just has a lot of belief in his arm strength, and I think you have to that's number one with a throw like that. You have to believe that you can fit that football into a tight space, and it has to be perfectly accurate. If it's not, it's going to get knocked down or picked off. And he threw it with perfect timing, perfect accuracy. And for a guy who's been on this roster for what, 3-4 weeks now, it's unbelievable that he's out there making those type of plays at that point in a game. That was a game-winning play. And just phenomenal for a guy like Joe, who had some turnovers early in the game, to still have the confidence to throw that football down the field into a defense like that, into a tight window, and he's able to make that play. It was super impressive, and man, that was fun to watch.
Tim, I haven't seen that route all year. And why did that play look so unique? Was it the coverage? Was it the route? Or am I just making too much of it? Because I'm the same as you. I said earlier in the show, I thought it was a pick as soon as it left his hands. And I was talking to Garrett earlier. It just felt like it's a different route tree with Joe. And some of these guys are running some different routes that they weren't with DTR and with PJ. And that play in particular is something that I don't recall seeing before. Why did it look so unique and strange at least to me, and I think to a lot of people?
Yeah, I think so. I think it is because of Joe. I think they've opened up the route tree with Joe because of his ability to push the ball down the field. I think with PJ and DTR in there, I think it was a little more of a conservative game plan. With Joe, they're throwing the football down the field. I love some of these play actions on second and short, third and short, where he's chunking it down the field, getting big plays. It's just been everything's kind of opened up, and I think also you factor in the running game has slacked off the last several weeks as well. So it's forced Joe and the offense to have to open up to get some more plays down the field and try to create some of those splash plays and put points on the board. So, and Joe has the ability to do that. I think that's the key is to have a guy like Joe who has the experience to know when to throw those balls and when not to, and he knows the windows he can fit them in. He's done this a million times, and it's just it's looked totally different. You're talking about a guy who won a Super Bowl in this league, who's been a starter for a very long time, who's been a very productive player over a long period of time, and it's it's showing out there. Even though he's on a new team and a new system, he still has all the confidence in the world in his abilities to throw it down the field, and I love to watch it. It's fun to watch this offense open up and let these receivers go make the plays that they're capable of making.
Tim, you mentioned play action out of the shotgun. According to Next Gen Stats against Chicago, on play action passes out of the gun, Flacco was 7 for 7, 190 yards, and a perfect 99.9 passer rating. So whatever he's doing, it's working to perfection.
Man, keep it going. Yeah, absolutely.
Tim, you talked about him playing with confidence, right? Like, I don't want to take away any credit from the coaching staff. Kevin Stefanski's done a magnificent job. This team is unlike the last decade, for the most part, of Browns football. They've played with confidence, with toughness, and all of that. But it feels like the way Joe has played and the moxie or the veteran influence that he has brought to the offense, that he has lifted the confidence even higher of the rest of the team. Do you buy that?
Yeah, absolutely I do. I think with Joe's just presence of walking out into that locker room with what he's accomplished in this league, guys automatically believe in him, and then they see him throw the football and say, damn, he still got it. This guy can still sling it like he used to. So guys are going to buy into that. They know Joe's a winner in this league, and he's done it over and over in his career, so they're going to buy into him. And, I just think it's unbelievable what this team has accomplished this year. If I told you before the season started we're going to lose Nick Chubb for the season, we're going to have a ton of injuries on the offensive line, we're going to have 4 starting quarterbacks, and we're going for our 10th win this Sunday, you would think I was crazy. I think that's that's a recipe for disaster for any team. But this Browns team has been resilient. They've played phenomenal defense. They've come up with crucial plays at crucial points in the game to win these games. And it's just been crazy to watch how this team has found different ways each week to win football games.
Tim, I want to change up just for a second. The Steelers safety who's suspended for the rest of the season after that throw in the Colts game. And I'm taking it back a little bit to Joe, and I've joked with these guys before that P.J. Walker was throwing hospital balls to Amari Cooper and got his ribs busted, basically. And we saw – and I didn't think it was a very good throw in that Colts game that I forget the receiver now that got hurt on the play. But –
Michael Pittman.
Thank you, Michael Pittman. And Tom Brady said earlier he put it on the quarterback. As a former quarterback, where do you fall on this? Because we haven't seen Joe really expose his receivers to nasty hits, whereas some of these younger guys do. And I do think it goes back to quarterback play and the position that you're putting these receivers in. Have you had receivers come to you and say, man, you're going to get me killed if you keep throwing it there? And just where do you fall on the quarterback's responsibility with receivers?
I think it's all on the quarterback, in my opinion. I think the quarterback can see what's out in front, and the receiver is trusting you to throw that football in a spot where he's not going to get hit because, if he's doing it in, especially back, when I was playing, the rules are different now, but, coming across the middle took a lot of courage. Those safeties were headhunting, those linebackers were trying to take your head off. You can't really, hit them like that anymore. But still, there's a level of confidence that those receivers have in the quarterback to trust that when you throw me in the middle into this window, that there's no one there going to take my head off. And the biggest thing for a quarterback is, what I always try to do was never throw the football high across the middle, because two things can happen. You're going to extend the receiver's arms up, which exposes his ribs, and you put him in position to take a big hit, or the ball's going to sail over his head or get tipped and you got an interception. So I always tried to keep it, chest or hip height where he had to go down to catch the football. So if there was a collision, that he was going to be in that kind of protected position where he could, not expose himself. So those are my biggest things is always see what's out in front of the receiver, try not to lead him into trouble. And if you're throwing across the middle, just kind of keep the ball low to medium level, never extend the receiver high across the middle.
Tim, you talked about before about how the running game has been ineffective for really the last at least 3 weeks. We talked about, obviously a big part of that is the offensive line, certainly, but we've talked about it. G and I especially have been bringing up the fact that we feel like Jerome Ford's vision hitting the holes is maybe not what it should be. Do you think because of the offensive line struggles, they'd be better off giving a veteran like Kareem Hunt more carries, who has probably, more natural instincts and he's used to seeing things that maybe the younger back wouldn't? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think Kareem's one of those guys who's always kind of going to get you those positive yards. He's not going to be, probably not as explosive as some of the other backs, as far as hitting those home runs. But Kareem's going to see the hole. He's going to hit it. He's going to put his head down. He's going to drive the pile. He's a positive yardage back. He's going to average 4 or 5 yards a carry, and you can trust him. He's been productive in this league for several years now, and I think he probably would benefit from getting more carries, and it would probably help the running game. But like you said, it's been a struggle with the offensive line moving pieces each week with all the injuries that they've had, and rotating at quarterback. 4 different starters there, and it's just it's a bad recipe to have a consistent running game with those kind of things.
Tim, Bull gave us a stat yesterday that the Cleveland Browns, going back to the 50s, maybe ever in their entire history, have never won 12 games? Or was that
one time?
One time.
Since they've been in the NFL, like when they were in the AAFC.
Yeah. So as an NFL,
since they've been in the NFL, they won 12 games once with Bernie in '86.
So
that's it.
I thought they were 11-5. No, they were 12-4 once with
12-4,
yeah. They could get there. They could do that this year. They could, when you look at the schedule, these are all games that they should be favored in, and they're all winnable. They could easily lose all 3 too. You know how that goes. But what would it say to you if, with all of these dings and adversities, and you mentioned them earlier, the Chubb, the line, 4 quarterbacks, that this front office and this head coach has guided this team filled with hurdles thrown in their way? It becomes the second Browns team in their existence in the NFL to win 12 games. What does that tell you about this team and those that run it?
All positive things. I think, to me it says that Kevin Stefanski, if that happens, if they go on to win 12 games and maybe if they just win 11, I think Kevin Stefanski is, should be heavily considered as coach of the year, with what he's had to deal with all the moving pieces. He's done a phenomenal job, in my opinion. And I think, the front office has done a good job of bringing in the pieces that they needed to bring in. As the season has gone on and we've had the injuries, we brought in the right pieces. Obviously, bringing in Joe was a huge factor. And, they have the right pieces on defense, and they're playing great ball over there. And they're well coached, and Schwartz has made a huge impact on that side of the ball, obviously. It's just unbelievable. Like I said earlier, it's, with all the things that they've had to deal with this year, and they're going for their 10th win this year and have a very realistic chance of winning 12 games is unbelievable. This team has been resilient. We've seen a lot of guys step up and have big years. I think David Njoku has had a career year. I love seeing the progression that he's made, especially, a guy like that who's had 4 quarterbacks back there, and he's still having the best year of his career. And each week he seems to get better and better, and he's playing at a high level. And I love seeing the growth of some of these players. It's just it's been a fun year to watch. It really has been. I know it's been frustrating in a lot of areas with the injuries and a lot of moving parts and all that stuff, but they've just continued to find different ways to win games, and I think a lot of that goes to credit to Coach Stefanski and his staff.
Absolutely. Before we let you go, what's your hunch? Who wins this one?
I think the Browns win this game. I think it'll be tough. They haven't been good on the road this year. I think, what are they, 2-4 on the road? They've been much better at home. The defense has not kind of been the same on the road as they have been at home, but I think they get it together this week. I think it's very important that Joe limits the turnovers this week on the road because, like I said, the defense hasn't been quite as good on the road, so he'll have to play a little more conservative, I think, and not. But I think the Browns find a way to win this game on the road.
Very good, Tim. Merry Christmas,
Thanks,
happy
Tim.
Holidays to you and your great family, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you, guys. Merry Christmas to you all as well.
Absolutely. Glad to hear he's on board with the Browns winning their 10th game of the season. He makes some really good points about the job Stefanski has done. Mm-hmm. He thinks he'd be the front runner if he gets to 11 wins.
The Browns will have played 2 games by the time we speak to Tim again.
That's right.
The Browns play Thursday.
Yeah. By this point next week, the Browns could be 11-5.
That's right.
That is crazy to think of. I can't wait for the Friday TV show,
11
by
and 5,
the way.
sorry.
Thinking ahead to next Friday, it'll be a reactionary TV show. It's going to be a blast.
First time, yeah.
Wow.
We got to do our top 10 players draft, and I got one more FanDuel read, so let's get to that. Then we'll draft the 10 best players in the game on Saturday. But as the weather gets colder, the NFL offers stay red hot on FanDuel, and right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. So if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time than right now to get in on the action. The app is easy to use, and there's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and much, much more. So visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL. Guys, we do it every Friday. It's one of my favorite things we do, but the 10 best players in this game count injuries, positional values irrelevant. The 10 best guys on the field Sunday. We'll start with one, work our way down.
Yeah. C.J. Stroud and Tank Dell would have both been near the top, but
would have been in my top 5.
Obviously, both are not playing this game.
Is there much argument at number 1? Do we still think Myles Garrett?
I mean, obviously he hasn't been as good lately, but yes, I would still have Myles Garrett number 1.
Agreement all the way around?
Of course.
I took him off briefly because of the shoulder.
Well, because that first game back, he didn't play. He was pretty bad in that game,
right.
but he's played better since. But, we're all in agreement.
I'd put him back up as number 1.
All right, so number 2.
Where do we go at number 2?
Let's see.
I might take Tunsil.
That's interesting.
Laramie Tunsil.
Yeah, that was higher than I.
Laramie Tunsil.
He was on the list, but
I'm going to go Denzel Ward at 2.
That's where I was going.
All right, I would
Ward.
too. I had Ward too.
Okay. 3.
Now, do we want to? If he's got Tunsil at 2, at some point he's going to need 2 more votes to get him in here.
Right. Yeah. Or at least one more in a tiebreaker.
I have him in my top 10. I didn't have him in my top 5, so it would be a leap for me to co-sign him at number 3. Can either of you guys do it?
I didn't even have him as the best player on the Texans.
I didn't either.
Nico Collins has had a great year.
Yeah, I don't have him as the best player on the Texans either.
And they have a linebacker whose name's escaping me who has a ton of tackles.
Greener, sacks.
Yes.
He's got
sacks. He's got interceptions.
Blake Cashman.
Right, Blake Cashman. These guys having a tremendous year.
Cashman hasn't practiced in 2 days, though. He may or may not play.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I thought when I did this, Nico Collins wasn't playing, C.J. Stroud wasn't playing.
Yeah, it looks like Nico Collins may play
probably
now.
going to play.
Collins is going to play.
Yeah.
Do you know where Tunsil is on PFF?
I can tell you in 1 sec.
I think he's got a good grade. Not elite, but I think good.
I think he's a good pass blocker.
He's always been an excellent tackle. I mean, he belongs in the conversation. Well, who's the next player for the Browns? We're considering Cooper.
You guys are going to laugh.
Flacco.
I got Flacco.
Jay's got Flacco.
I got Flacco.
David Njoku belongs in the conversation.
Yeah, I have Flacco and Njoku.
J.O.K. belongs in the conversation.
J.O.K. was my number 10.
I was gonna
Emerson?
I was putting in Njoku there. I think Njoku has really raised his stock.
It's hard for me to put Njoku above Amari still. I just think Amari's what drives this thing.
I did it because of just his blocking prowess. He's going to give guys extra chances. He's helping in tackles and still getting out in the routes.
Nobody else can consider Flacco here?
I'm not ready to go Flacco yet, but
the interceptions and the inconsistency.
Yeah.
I'm going to go
for 3 quarters.
I'm going with the linebacker on the Texans, who's Blake, whatever his hell his last name is.
Blake Cashman.
His name you don't even know.
I know.
Say Blake, what's his name?
He's put up
Blake Backer.
He's got
and Bull's sticking to it.
He's got huge traditional stats and huge PFF grades. He's got the combo. He's been great.
Can I try to sell you guys on Flacco,
Yes,
or is this
please.
a lost
No,
cause?
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay, let me
The gentleman
try
has
my
the
best
floor.
to sell you because I said when I made my list in my head, I said I'm going to put Flacco at 3, and I'm going to get a lot of flack for that. So I got to be ready.
You're not going to get flack, but
Here's why I would put him at number 3. The Browns' run game is gone. It's evaporated like the fall leaves on the trees. It's gone. We can't block.
Yeah.
The offensive line is a mess, even though it might be getting more healthy. I think that makes Joe Flacco even more important than ever before. Another way I do this sometimes is reverse engineering. And I do it this way. Who are the 10 players that I just can't afford to lose?
Yep.
And for me, Flacco is really only number 2 to Myles Garrett. I cannot afford to lose Joe Flacco right now. I just can't.
My only problem with looking at it that way is that puts position.
It does. I know. And I thought about that too.
Yeah.
However, you guys may not remember, but a couple of weeks ago, and I can't believe that what's happened in just 2 weeks, but McNuggets and I were the only two advocating for Joe Flacco to be in at number 10. Remember that? And we lost out on the vote.
Well, that was only because it was after one game. We're ready to go there yet.
But I was like, I've seen it. I've seen it. I know what this guy means to the team.
Yeah.
He's one of the top 10 most important players. In fact, that's what I kept saying. At the end of the segment, I'm like, you guys are wrong, and we're going to talk about this on Monday. Joe Flacco is in the top 10. It reminds me of the old SportsCenter commercial where Neil Everett was talking to, I think, one of the great tennis players. It might have been Sampras or one of them. And he was talking about who's your top 5 SportsCenter anchors of all time. And he listed them, and Neil Everett wasn't in it. Neil kept saying, I'm in the top 5. I'm in the top 5. I can hear Joe Flacco saying, guys, I'm in the top 10. Yeah. How can I not be in the top 10?
By the way, now I can't even name a single anchor on.
Oh, how times have changed,
right?
Well, so to me, when I reverse engineer it and I start asking myself, who can I not see in a Browns helmet on Sunday?
Hold on.
To me, Joe Flacco is number 2, only to Myles Garrett.
So Flaccovelli just hit me up via text. Said, what is you doing?
He talk you into it?
And he's right.
I'm officially going Wyatt Teller at 3.
This guy goes opposite of Wyatt.
I just made.
It was a great argument.
And I'm going Jonathan Greenard at 3.
I got him to change his mind from Blake Cashman to Wyatt Teller.
He's the guy I'm thinking of,
not Joe Flacco.
Final answer.
You know what's interesting here, though, is it's kind of like a Senate filibuster.
Right.
I only had to convince the majority.
And
now I've convinced the majority.
All right, you got G. Bush. So
now look, he's going to play like ass, and I'm going to come in here, and Monday there's going to be a pile of garbage on me.
But he's right. If there's...
that's position. I don't like the position.
No, I don't love that either.
I threw this out on Twitter because I had to go back and rewind in my mind. I said if the Cleveland Browns clinch this week, and it does not, it looks like they're not going to be able to get the division, would you sit Joe Flacco the next 2 weeks?
No.
Yeah, that's another argument.
No way.
I saw your question in the
But one game,
but
maybe. 2,
he needs all the reps with these guys he can
Plus,
get.
if the Ravens lose to the Niners, the Browns are still alive to win the division.
I get. Well, all I'm saying is that's how important.
Here's how I would do it. If the Browns, and I don't think this is even mathematically possible, but if with the win they lock themselves in at the 5, and Baltimore wins against San Francisco, and there's no chance that the Browns can then get the 1 because they've got to lose to San Francisco. They have to.
Right.
So if by some miracle of all of these events happening where the Browns find out Monday morning we're the 5 and that can't change.
Right.
Then I definitely sit them against the Jets.
Really?
And I play him the second half against the Bengals. I don't want him to come in with 3 weeks of rust into the playoffs.
I play him against
when we
the Jets
get there, we can talk about that. We are getting way
McNuggets like, you all on my list, bro. You all on my...
He's throwing a flag on you. All right, 4. All right, Flacco gets 3. You guys got Flacco. 4, I'm going Wyatt Teller at 4.
I'm going Jonathan Greenard. He had 2 sacks last week. He's got 12.5 for you. That's the guy I was trying to think of, not Cashman.
Sorry.
He's the Texans' big edge rusher.
He's really come on
with the Browns' problems at tackle. We know Hudson's a swinging gate at right tackle.
And
I think that guy's going to be a problem.
Well, listen, he done talked me out of my move. I had Tunsil up 2. This is what, 4?
Yeah.
This is 4.
I got to at least go with him now. When you got his numbers.
So we got 4 different guys there.
Well, who's yours at 4?
I'm going with Amari Cooper.
Okay, so you guys break the tie. It's a 4-way tie.
So I had Jonathan Greenard as well, and he's in my McNuggets 5 stats by the slightest of margins over Amari Cooper, who better be coming up here soon or I'll get mad at you guys.
Yeah.
Well, that's next for me.
I don't have an argument at all, Greenard at 4.
Yeah.
He has been an impact. I'll be perfectly honest. I didn't know a lot about him at all until I started doing research on the Texans for this game. So I can't say that I've watched him.
He's come out of nowhere this year.
I haven't seen him. I don't know anything about. If he walked in right now, I wouldn't know him.
Yeah.
But I read a lot about what their defense does and how he's kind of the linchpin to their defense and that he's had a great year.
Yeah.
And so
he was like a nobody this year, and then he just exploded.
Coming into this year, he was just like a guy. He was a piece.
He said,
and now he's become the central piece. And for that, I'm with you. I'd give him 4.
Yeah.
All right,
so he's
5.
at 4. G, real quick, Laramie Tunsil, you asked his PFF grade. He ranks tied for 19th with a 77 right now. So
that's fine. That's solid, but not elite.
Yeah.
A 5.
Does Cooper get number 5 then?
He's my 5. Yeah.
I'm going Wyatt Teller again.
Cooper at 4. So I mean, we've already got 2 Cooper. If you don't go Wyatt Teller, Cooper gets the 5.
He still has Laramie Tunsil on the board.
He's still good.
I got Tunsil on the
Okay, so Cooper it is.
Tunsil's on the board, but this look like Tunsil going to be a 8.
You're like Anthony Bennett at 1.
Yeah,
Tunsil the guy that the night of the draft, the video of him smoking weed came out?
Yeah.
It's another draft day disaster for Tunsil.
Hey, draft
He's
day
falling on the board.
He's falling out of the top 5.
All right.
That might have been one of the most. It wasn't funny
Wasn't
because
that the gas mask?
he had a gas mask. This is so ridiculous. Can we find that video?
Oh
We can
my
play that.
God.
Yeah, I'm sure I can find it. Well, if you haven't seen it,
And then
just
I
search-
heard-
I saw that and I said that's fake. There's no way anybody really does that.
Like, wasn't that staged
legal
or
now.
something? Or
No. What happened
I
was
vaguely remember this.
one of his confidants rolled on him and was trying to extort and said, "I've got this video, and if I don't get this, I'm going to release the video."
Oh my
and it
God.
was just the physical image of the guy who most people were saying was going to be the 1 or 2 players selected in the draft with this gas mask on,
Hey, man.
filled with marijuana smoke.
This is why we can laugh now. It's totally illegal. Shout out to him and Josh Gordon.
I was just like, is he in that much of a hurry to get stoned?
Like, yeah, man.
Like you're
Guess
putting
so.
it in a gas mask?
Hey, man, he had
Try
that
all
high
kinds
grade.
of crazy stuff.
He had that, yeah.
They do. So Tunsil's he's dropping like a
All right.
rock again on the
6.
draft board.
I'm going Wyatt Teller.
I'm
Come
with you on Wyatt Teller.
Thank you.
I'll take Wyatt.
I'll
there.
give you Wyatt.
Because of, I mean, maybe I don't know if this counts as positional importance, but he's the last man standing on the line.
Come on now.
Yeah, you're right.
By the way, Wency, are you
important-
friendly with his wife?
I met her
She
once.
should come on the show with us.
I met her once.
Yeah,
She's
we'll let her
always
on.
tweeting. Like, anybody know her? She loves G. Bush.
Yeah, I'm sure we can.
I've
reach
seen
out.
her tweet at G. Bush.
We
She
can
follows
reach
me
out.
on
So
Twitter.
what's the reason to bring her on, other than the fact that she's the wife of Wyatt Teller?
I
Like,
just think she's like
is she a
into
big fan of football? Does she
She's-
know the sport?
First of all,
She's
I don't
very
know.
active on social media.
She's very
Oh,
active
okay,
on
well, then
social
that's a good
media.
reason.
She's really nice
And
with
she
the
likes
fans.
me. That's all that counts.
She
No.
she
Gee, wish everybody likes you. Why
every
wouldn't she?
year she picks fans that she sends. She and Wyatt send a Christmas card to from her family.
Gosh, it would have
And
been
people
great
really
to have
love
her
that.
on this week.
Yeah,
around that. Well, let's try
She
to get
seems
her
really
for
nice.
next-
I feel like
I'll
it would
reach
be cool
out.
to have her on.
I know I could get in touch with her. I'm pretty
You-
sure.
Okay.
And you know what? Since the Tellers are Kool-Aid Mafia members, I want Wyatt Teller in the top 5.
That's it. He's in.
Well, he's number
He's
6.
six.
He's number
Okay,
6.
well, I did what I could.
Now, really,
Number 7.
you know, the developing
Well, I tried.
storyline of this draft is the drop of Laramie
Laramie
Tunsil.
Tunsil.
Yeah.
That's where have we heard that before?
Hey, big fella.
So
7.
we almost have to.
I mean, we don't even have the Joku up there.
We don't have or
No, we
Mark
don't.
Emerson.
I'm
Or
going
Emerson.
with none of those guys at 7. I'm going JOK.
Wow.
No,
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. You're right. I'm going JOK.
I'm going to Joku.
JOK has been playing crazy.
I'll go JOK too because
Dang, I forgot about
Killing
him.
it.
He has been.
We might.
He
Can
has
we
been.
get a relook at this?
Now, are we going two Browns heavy?
We
always
are.
have to ask ourselves
Well,
that.
but their top players are out. The quarterback's out.
I know, but are we missing somebody? The running back's pretty good.
I mean, the
Singletary's
Singletary,
Singletary's
Nico
pretty good.
Collins, we've left out.
I think Nico Collins and Cushman are both more deserving than Singletary.
Oh, no
personally.
kidding. Okay.
I think so.
Yeah, I agree
Okay.
with you.
Hey, I've been
But
trying to get
Tunsil-
Tunsil since
Tunsil's
2.
still on the board too.
He's still on the board.
have we located the Tunsil gas mask video?
I have a picture.
So
That's
yeah.
a picture is worth 1,000 words. Okay, we now go live to our draft day studio.
That is the best.
Hey, do you know how? Do you understand how
Empire State Building was high.
absorbed that marijuana is in his?
Oh my goodness!
I mean, that is in his being. That is in his soul.
There's a number for like blood alcohol content.
Yeah.
When you
Yo.
blow, it's like
Yeah.
0.08 is
Sure.
legally drunk. There is, and this is going to be a big thing in Ohio now that it's legal. There is a test. I think it's a blood test that immediately will tell the officer how many parts per million of the active ingredient in marijuana, which I think is THC. I'm not an expert, trust me. I've never even smoked weed, but I know more about this than I should. But they can find out. Bull's looking at me like I'm lying. This is a true story. But they can find out like how many parts per million.
Yeah.
I'm guessing had he been tested, he would have set the Guinness Book of World Record for the highest parts per million of THC.
There's baked and then there's tonsiled.
That could also be a scene from The Walking Dead or some other post-apocalyptic
his
movie.
His midichlorians is crazy if he was in Star Wars.
All right, what number are we on?
The older ones,
what number are we on?
Cheech and Chong Van would also be a high parts per million.
No doubt.
We got 3 picks. Let's get the last 3.
So where are
Number
we?
8.
What was 7?
7 was
JOK.
JOK. Njoku still on the board. Emerson still on the board.
Collins is still on the board.
Collins is still on the board.
I'm going Collins at 8.
I went in Njoku at 7. I got to go in Njoku again at 8.
Okay.
I'm nervous that there's only one Texan, and then if it comes out where they win, we're like, man, were we in the clouds?
All right, I'm gonna go with Tunsil.
All right, Jay.
Can we get another live look inside the draft room right now of Tunsil's reaction to still being on the board?
Still on the board, he's falling like a rock.
I'm gonna go with Collins.
All right.
Just because.
So that gets the win.
I just feel like
that's fine. That's fine.
Okay.
9.
I got to go in Njoku again. I can't believe we're at 9. And
I'm going to Njoku. I'm with you.
Yeah, Laramie. Yeah, I'm trying my best up here. I mean, the picture is kind of crazy, bro. Can we get that?
Can I be Laramie? Can I be Laramie?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's good.
It's cool.
I feel
I'm gonna go.
So 2 for Njoku, 1 for Laramie Tunsil.
Njoku it is.
All right, that's 9.
So does Laramie Tunsil, does his draft start at 2? Does he fall out of the top 10?
Here's the thing. I almost feel like at this point it would be a pure sympaty pick.
Yeah.
Like we feel for the guy.
I'm going with the linebacker from the Texans I mentioned earlier.
Can we give him his PFF pass rush grade? He's going against Myles Garrett this week. Can you at least boost him up, McNuggets?
So his pass blocking grade is an 82.9.
That's good.
Short all tackles is the 4th highest pass blocking grade.
He gets my vote at number 10.
What is Cashman's PFF grade, Mike? It's really high, isn't it?
He's left tackle. He's going against the best in the game.
G makes a great point.
So you're going Tunsil?
I am going Tunsil.
Are you going
because
Cashman with me or
I feel sorry for him stuck in that gas mask.
This is a deal at 10. A deal.
I want to negotiate. What do I get?
What do you got? I'll give you the gas mask. We'll secure the gas mask and you can have it.
Laramie Tunsil it is.
Yes. Laramie, we did it, big fella.
88 PFF grade for the season.
Who would you have broken the tie with, Mike?
I'd be lying to tell you I'm super familiar with Blake Cashman's game. He has phenomenal numbers, but Tunsil's been one of the better left tackles in football for a few years. So I feel like we would have been doing an injustice to leave him off.
Where was he? Was he like Mississippi State or something like that? Ole Miss.
Ole Miss, man. Yeah.
That image is one of the all-time great sports
ever.
images. Like when you show that to diehard fans, they even though you can't see the man's face, they're going to tell you that they know who that is and they know the story.
That's right. Mike, you know what we forgot to have on the schedule for today?
Can we make that a sticker? One of our
I'm sure we can talk to
one of our emojis.
We
forgot to do the top 5 backup quarterback draft this week.
We had a busy week.
That's right.
Busy week. We'll get back to that tomorrow.
All right.
Next week. But we got some McNugget stats, and I got 2 bonus ones.
Before you do that, can I just take a second?
Show. Yeah, of course.
If you're watching right now, it's time for our daily like-a-thon. Take a second. If you like the content that we provide you here on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, and odds are you do, if you're watching us putting pictures of people with gas masks on smoking pot, you must like what we're bringing to you. Just take a second, hit that like button. It helps us tremendously. It helps us when people are searching for Cleveland Browns content. Our stuff is more likely to pop up because you just took 1 second out of your day and hit the like button. If you haven't already subscribed, take a second and subscribe, and then you're notified whenever we're doing breaking news content or quality content just like this. Go ahead, G.
Earl, go ahead and do the favor and give us our top.
Yeah, Mike wasn't here. Hit the pause. 5-second pause, everybody.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
This 5-second pause is brought to you by the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Make sure you ring the bell and hit that like button.
I like it. Yeah.
All
right, you guys ready for a 5-pack of McNugget stats and 2 bonus ones?
Give 5 seconds of silence, Mike.
That's true. Earl said the 5 seconds.
I'm going to count.
In like about a second.
Ready?
Go.
5 seconds of silence for you to like this program. Resume.
There you go.
All right.
Amen.
We did 5 seconds. This first stat is about 4 quarterbacks. Last week I gave you guys the stat. The Browns were the only team in football to have 4 quarterbacks win a game this season. The first team in football to have 4 quarterbacks win a game since the 2015 Houston Texans, who also made the playoffs. Brian Hoyer, Ryan Mallett, T.J. Yates, and Brandon Weeden all started and won games that year.
I believe they beat the Bengals in the playoff with T.J. Yates.
Two former Browns quarterbacks on that list.
I went back and I looked. I can't confirm this, but I checked everywhere I could find. The Browns are the first team in NFL history, according to my own research. I could not find. I looked everywhere to have 4 quarterbacks leave a fourth-quarter game-winning drive in the same season. Every quarterback that started a game for the Browns this season has led a fourth-quarter game-winning comeback. Watson did it against Baltimore. PJ did it against San Francisco and Indianapolis. DTR against Pittsburgh. Flacco last week against Chicago. I couldn't find it anywhere else.
Now, in fairness, how many teams have had 4 starting quarterbacks in a season? It probably doesn't happen that often.
No, it doesn't. No, but here's why that stat is so impressive.
Yeah.
When you're on to starting quarterback number 2, you have a lesser quality player. When you're on to starting quarterback number 3, you have an even lesser quality player, typically.
Yeah.
When you're on to 4, you got an Uber driver.
Number 4,
season's over.
You took someone off the beach.
Well,
and they've all had fourth-quarter drives to
win
amazing. Games.
Well,
Mikey, that might never happen again.
And the part that I think is hysterical is I'm old enough to remember when we were talking about how Kevin Stefanski can't come back and win in the fourth quarter. Remember that?
Right, absolutely.
That was that September conversation about and it was a bad record when the Browns were down in the fourth quarter.
But Bull appropriately came up with the stat that put all of that into perspective. He said, okay, who's the coach right now that is pretty much universally looked at as one of the best young coaches in football?
Right.
And we came up with Kyle Shanahan.
Right.
And Bull said, let's see where Shanahan ranks. He was below Stefanski.
Yeah.
So what you telling me he's the coach of the year then, Bull?
No.
Well, I think Stefanski's the coach of the year.
Yes.
But
what he's saying was, not long ago we were dinging Stefanski because he had so few fourth-quarter comeback wins as a coach.
I was doing it 2 weeks ago. What you mean? Not long
I wonder where he ranks on that list now.
The only coach that had a good record was Andy Reid because his quarterback's Patrick Mahomes.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, number 2, this is a Joe Flacco tribute. So, in 3 games with the Browns, he's thrown for 939 passing yards. That's the 5th most passing yards any quarterback has ever thrown for in his first 3 games with the new franchise. 2002, Drew Bledsoe threw for 1,017. 2011, Cam Newton, 1,012. Kirk Cousins in 2018, 965. 2021, Matt Stafford, 942. And then this year's Joe Flacco with 939. We all know he threw for 212 yards in the fourth quarter against Chicago. That's the most yards in a single quarter any quarterback's thrown for in 45 years. But here's where this comes into play.
Wait. Repeat that. What?
His 212 yards in the fourth quarter was the most yards a quarterback has thrown for in any individual quarter in the last 45 years.
What?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. Now,
I would guess that was near the top, but not the top.
Where did you find that?
CBS Sports tweeted that one out. So
that is wild.
Guys, that's unbelievable.
However, Jay, this is where it comes into context. 212 yards in the fourth quarter versus Chicago. In the last month, the last 4 games the Texans have played, they've allowed 220 total passing yards in the fourth quarter and overtime in their last 4 games.
Oh, wow.
So Flacco versus Chicago, 212. Houston in the last 4 games they've played, 220 total.
Giving up 55
So
a
what
game.
you're saying is if this game comes down to the fourth quarter, it will be decided by Flacco's fourth quarter greatness, throwing it, against Houston's fourth quarter greatness in stopping it.
And he's not playing against bums. That's not the Bears got good defense. Let's not. They got a good defense. He's not playing against bums out here.
Now, who have the Texans played in their last 4 to hold their opponents?
They beat the Titans last week.
They held Tennessee to 59 yards, but that was fourth quarter and overtime.
Okay,
so that was even extra.
And it was a long overtime.
The Jets they held to 45.
Terrible
Denver threw
offense.
for 83, but they picked off Denver twice.
Okay.
And Jacksonville 33 yards. So in total, 220 in 4 games. It's pretty good.
So when my boy put that 300 up on him, we ready to go, right?
In fairness, wasn't Jacksonville up big on them, so they probably weren't throwing in the fourth quarter?
It was a 24-21 game, so it was pretty close the whole way through.
Okay.
I don't think
I thought
it
they
was
were up big.
significantly.
Wow.
The Jets game was a blowout, so they ran the ball more than they passed.
Man,
That's the one
you're
outlier.
killing it on these stats. You're absolutely killing it.
By the way,
next
Mike,
one.
there's a little
Yes.
controversy here. Can you put that last graphic back up for a second?
Of course.
Not that last one. I'm sorry. The one where it has Flacco's numbers.
Steve, take it.
We have a little controversy here that I have to hash out. You've been saying 939 yards. The graphics is 938.
Oh,
so who got it wrong, Mike?
I bookmarked it where I found that one. Hold on, I can tell you. And also,
he deserves credit for every yard.
No, you're right. It's 239. It's a bad spelling.
938.
I apologize. Hand up, my bad.
What's the number you just said? 239. That's
no 939.
938.
No, he did throw 939. The graphics.
Oh, the graphics wrong. Okay.
Hey,
so was that an Anthony Cantaspelli problem?
No, that was a me on vacation working at breakfast.
When you're done with your stats, I got one. I got one.
Next up, the third one. This is a matchup to watch. We talked about Nico Collins, right?
Yeah.
So Nico Collins has spent 80% of his snaps lined up on the outside. And against man coverage this year, the QB rating for the Houston Texans quarterback targeting Nico Collins in man coverage, a near-perfect 155.8. It's the highest quarterback rating to any individual receiver in man coverage. Now, I know Anthony mentioned this yesterday, but the Browns have 3 of the top 4 most successful coverage corners in football, which when Next Gen Stats does all their analytics, based on the route, the overall outcome, they determine success rate.
Right.
Newsome, 67.6, number 1 in the NFL. Ward and Newsome, 66.6, tied with Jalen Johnson of the Bears last week for second. When teams pass against the Browns, they have a minus 157 EPA. It's the lowest rate since 2016. These guys are phenomenal in man coverage, and Nico Collins is great against man coverage. Just something to watch, that these are 2 masters at what they do going up against each other on Sunday.
Again, Mike, just an incredible stat that shines a light on a matchup that may well decide this game that I wouldn't have thought. I had no idea Collins and their quarterbacks throwing to him have been that successful on man coverage on the outside. And also, something that's really driving home with all these numbers that you're throwing at us. I know we all agree that Myles Garrett is the sun to this universe on defense, and everybody else is a planet going around him. But when you look at their success on man pass coverage, and you keep saying that's the best in the NFL since 2009.
Yeah.
They have right now what teams dream of, and that is a Hall of Fame caliber pass rusher and a back end to a defense that makes it almost impossible for quarterbacks to find receivers
Pick your poison.
in man coverage. This is the kind of formula that can take a team deep in the playoffs.
And as hard as we've been on Greg Newsome at times, for a third corner, he's very good.
You're right.
He's not a 1, he's
Keep
not
him
a
in
2,
his
but
lane,
as a 3.
slot guy.
As a slot guy, he's been excellent.
It's been great.
And I keep going back to it. Some people think just because you end up a defensive coordinator that you're smart. You're not. Joe Woods had all of these people on his team last year. All of
minus
them.
the middle of the defensive line.
But you still had Myles Garrett at end, and you still had 3 lockdown.
Those 4 guys that
You
were
had Newsome and
guys.
Emerson and all these other back of the.
So why would you play zone the majority of the time?
Yeah.
Like, why would you do that?
In terms of how
I'm sure that's what Schwartz said the second he walked in the building.
In terms of Collins, the difference here with Collins, though, is he's never played with Case Keenum because he's been out he was out last week when Keenum played. And he's been hurt. Collins has been out a few weeks, so who knows?
It's still not a given he's going to play, but the fact that he practiced yesterday, when I saw that, I was like, I didn't expect he'd be out there.
But still, first game back, he may not be at his best, and he's never played with Keenum, so.
And he probably hasn't practiced much with him. Just yesterday was the first time.
And I'm raising my hand saying he's getting locked up. He's getting locked up. We're not going to let him.
All right, moving on. A little nod to David Njoku, who's been phenomenal in the last 3 games. Since Joe Flacco's taken over at quarterback in 3 games, he's been targeted 28 times, has 18 catches, 212 yards, 3 touchdowns. And on the season, he ranks 3rd among NFL tight ends in targets, 5th in receptions, 7th in yards, 1st in yak, tied for 3rd in touchdowns. And one thing we know about Njoku, he's impossible to get taken down. He's one of the hardest guys to tackle in football. His average depth of target is just 4.4 yards. He averages 7.1 yards after the catch per reception. He's averaging 11 yards per catch. 70% of his yards are on yak. And we saw it, and it even goes back to that 3rd and 15 pass from Joe Flacco last week where he ended up catching it, running for the first down, putting him into field goal range. I don't know if it's Joe Flacco who's unlocked. I'm not sure if it's just him coming into his own finally, but the David Njoku we've seen the last 3 weeks is the David Njoku the Browns paid for when they gave him that massive extension. It's been awesome to see because he's an awesome guy and a big fan of UCSF.
Yeah, it's a great stat. It's a great stat.
He's had a very good year overall, but the last 3 weeks he's playing at an elite level.
He is. You've mentioned really the only Pro Bowl, the only tight end better in the AFC is Travis Kelce. Right now, obviously with the Ravens, having their guy out, and most of the great tight ends, 3 of the top 5, I think, are in the NFC.
I may have fallen flat on my Nick Chubb for 2,000 yards, or my Amari Cooper for 1,600 yards, or the run game. But I didn't fall flat on my face. You have saved my Take Hall of Fame credit. David Njoku, I told you was worth the money. You just came 3 or 4 years later, but you showed up, buddy. Thank you so much, David.
If you were starting a team and had to draft an AFC tight end, you'd probably take David Njoku.
What? Say that again, Bull. I'd like to hear it from you.
You're starting a team because Kelce's 31 years old. I'm factoring in age.
Well, this is Njoku's 7th year. He's 28 or 29.
Yeah, but he's got.
He's 28. Yeah.
Kelsey's showing some decline.
He was really young when
he was like 19 or something when he
Njoku was real young.
That's an interesting conversation. 21. I saw this on the NFL Network. Is Kelce into a period of decline?
27.
And I think the overwhelming opinion of the panel was one that I share. I just think that because there are no other weapons for Mahomes to throw to, the defenses has just decided Kelsey's not going to beat us.
I disagree. I think they're wrong. I think he is in decline. In fact, I would argue that Rashee Rice, the rookie who's played really well lately, is a better wide receiver than anybody the Chiefs had last year.
Hello?
Yeah. Hello, yeah.
Andy, how you doing? Andy Reid, guys.
Oh.
Straight up, you'll give us Kelce for Njoku. Hold on, let me check with our assistant GM. Bull, Andy Reid on the horn.
Yes.
Straight up right now. He's saying we can have Kelce, but he needs Njoku. But he needs an answer now. Hold on, Andy. We're on the air right now.
Trying to win a Super Bowl.
I'm taking Njoku.
No, Andy. I'm sorry. We have no time for this nonsense. We're staying put with our guy. Okay. All right. Good luck and Merry Christmas.
I thought
You're out
I
of your
would.
tree.
I thought
out of pocket.
Never hear that ever. Like, can you imagine 6 months ago us saying some crazy
Kelsey's
stuff
still
like
better than Njoku right now, but I do believe he's in his decline.
Oh. Hello? Travis. Bull? No, he actually left. He's out sick today.
He's out of pocket.
Yeah. I know you're from Cleveland, and I know you really want to come
home.
Love
you, Travis.
But Bull loves Njoku.
Yeah.
So good luck in Kansas City. All right, bye-bye.
He's not been that good this year. He's been good, but not as good.
McNuggets.
Okay, do you do it right now, straight up, Kelce for Njoku?
I love David. I'll drive him to the airport.
Yeah,
I'm taking
Kelce.
Kelce.
Straight up, right now. I know you love David. Kelce. Maybe the best tight end ever.
By the way, who's a not even close? David Njoku's a way better blocker.
No trade.
Kelsey doesn't
I'm
block.
sticking with David Njoku.
Let's
go.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go.
News, Bull. I got some news for you real quick. Blake Cashman will not play against the Browns.
Out.
Out. Case Keenum officially named the starting quarterback, so C.J. Stroud out.
Wow, that's big news.
Hey, Laramie, they got a trade on the table for you, dog. You can move up.
We got the last stat we got to get to real quick.
One more thing. Can you call up that picture of David Njoku, the last one? I think the league's getting onto him. He's got to stop trying to hurdle guys. He's going to get hurt.
I agree.
The Bears last week were sitting on it, and the defender just stood up and said, come get some. He thought he was going to go over him. It's dangerous. He's going to end his season trying that nonsense.
He's going to get drop kicked.
It's not worth the 2 or 3 extra yards that you pick up. Unless you're doing it to get to the first down.
Unless you're doing it to a punter.
By the way, Kelce only has about 200 more yards than Njoku. One's playing with Patrick Mahomes. One's played with 4 quarterbacks.
Kelsey's missed time. Kelsey was hurt.
Mike, go.
You're
He
right.
missed one game, but it's all good.
One game.
Last stat. Some names to know. We've mentioned a couple of these. I know you guys covered them yesterday, but we talked about Jonathan Greenard earlier, 12.5 sacks. He's half a sack behind Miles, but he has 4 games this season with 2 or more sacks, including last week. Just in comparison, Miles has 3. So he's had big games. He's a guy to watch. Derek Stingley and Steven Nelson, they're 2 cornerbacks. The only DB duo in football who each have 4 interceptions. So they have 2 guys on the outside who are ball hawks, similar to how the Cleveland Browns operate, but Denzel Ward doesn't have 4. And in terms of explosive catches, where tackling is going to come into play, between Collins, Tank Dell, Noah Brown, Dalton Schultz, and I know Dell's out, they have 38 catches of 25 or more yards this season. That's not necessarily air yards. That's either just 25-yard plays. Second most in football, only behind San Francisco, one of the most explosive offenses. However, Last week with Keenum, only one of those plays. 37
Mike,
with C.J. Stroud.
I love you, but that stat is useless. That stat is meaningless.
Yeah, because I think that's a product of C.J. Stroud.
Just wanted to give you guys some information on the Houston Texans.
It can be a big play offense, but the guys,
it was, but the two guys most responsible for that
are not playing.
Hey, real quick, that stat Kevin was getting crushed for was one win when trailing by more than a field goal in the fourth quarter. One win since he got here. The Browns lead the league. They got 4 this year. Tops in the NFL. 4 comeback wins in the fourth quarter.
What happened was he watched that show.
Clearly.
And he was like, this is nonsense that I haven't had more of those wins. I'm going to go out and get a bunch of them. So he's purposely put himself in position to get those wins. And then he's come back and
no other team has more than 2. The Browns have
Kevin
4.
is locked in every day. He watches I've heard he watches the first hour of the show.
Yeah.
That's what he gets him
fired
up for the day.
Noon to 1 hour after work.
Watches that late at night.
Wants to make sure that nothing's getting through. Yeah. Also, you know what? Bad job out of us this week. We should have had Jonathan Wells on this week. He works for the Texans.
Yeah, Jonathan Wells.
We should have had him on.
And only because he's a Buckeye, I do have a C.J. Stroud there I just want to throw out there. I made this before I knew he was completely ruled out. But between the clean pocket throws for Stroud and under pressure, he's a completely different quarterback. When he's clean, gets time to set his feet, he grades out right in between Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. Under pressure, he grades out between Bailey Zappi and P.J. Walker. So just want to throw that out there. There's no quarterback in football that has a bigger difference in terms of their PFF grades where they rank under clean pocket versus under pressure.
The Browns but no turnovers in that situation.
Yeah,
it's weird.
5 touchdowns, no picks.
It's PFF grades. I know we don't love them. Just want to throw it out there.
I got no problem with PFF.
I think he's rookie of the year, even though he
100%.
missed the last quarter of the season. I mean, he'll be back. He'll probably be back next week.
You know, and deserves some credit is Puka Nacua, though.
Oh, God, you're right.
And real quick, because we got Super Chats, I was looking for something else and came across this. Take it full, Steve. The Browns this year, their home-road splits, we know defensively they're a different team at home versus the road. Look at the sack number. That's what kind of stuck out to me. 30 sacks at home, only 11 on the road.
That doesn't make any sense.
Way fewer plays, but it's just I just wanted to put that out there, something I kind of came across.
The one thing, not that it would answer the question as to why, but they have played 8 home games and 6 road games.
Right.
True. So there's a little bit of a disparity.
That's a huge gap.
That's a big difference, man.
We got to get super chats in real quick, guys. We had a bunch of people gifting memberships. Nope. We appreciate everyone who gifted a membership. You guys, the real MVPs. Matthew Copa says, G. Bush looking like Denzel Washington in Training Day. Yeah. Happy holidays to the best Cleveland sports show. Same to you, Matthew.
Shout out
James
to
Cosby says, happy holiday, guys. Here's to the Browns winning and returning to the postseason. Phil Bowman said, morning, Mafia. Hope everyone had a great, safe holiday weekend. Skilly says, I have an indirect connection to the Tellers as well. I'll try to reach out to her. Damian Frederick says, G. Bush dressed like James Carter on vacation. And Daryl says, UCSS is lit. Kool-Aid Mafia in the building. Browns win 31-17. Flacco and Stefanski, a.k.a. the Property Brothers. Tune in to WKYC here in a second. And Daryl's right. Make sure you guys tune in about 30 seconds as we head over to WKYC.
Yeah, it's for the never-before-seen Browns content. Mm-hmm. What you're about to see when you flip over to Channel 3, you've never seen before.
Ever.
This is not a rerun.
Nope.
We don't do any of the old topics. We're not pulling anything over.
Nothing.
Laramie Tunsil's picture will not be on
Definitely
Channel
not.
3 TV
That's
show.
not appropriate.
That is inappropriate for our television viewing audience. But we do hope you follow us over there. WKYC, Channel 3, as we continue our preview of the Texans and the Browns. See you there.